Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my weekly wrap up for the week of May the 7th to May the 13th, and I'm going to apologise in advance because I think I've woken up with a cold, so I sound a little bit rubbish. I don't think I look too rubbish, but I apologise in advance if I just deteriorate. This week I read 3 books and I read a total of 987 pages, which is like half of what I read last week, and I think I burnt myself out a little bit by reading so much. I don't regret it. And it was nice to take a break this week, and I've also been sucked into watching season 2 of Sense8, so that didn't help because I basically marathoned those 11 episodes. So there wasn't much room for reading, but that happens. So what can we do? Without further ado, I'm going to get straight into my wrap up, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently this week. I'm going to read you the blurbs of the books and then just give you some thoughts and feelings on them because my head's a little bit fuzzy and even my notes are not helping me today. The first book that I read this week was Alice the Wanderer Chronicles by J.M. Sullivan, which I received as an e-arc from NetGalley, and it is sort of a young adult dystopian Alice in Wonderland retelling, and it was kind of cool. So here's the blurb. Ever since the outbreak of the plague, life hasn't been the same for 17-year-old Alice Carroll. Her sister Dinah has contracted the undeadly Mumarath virus, and without a cure will soon be worse than dead. She'll be Mumarath. Alice must leave the safety of the sector and venture into Mumarath territory to find the antidote, if it exists. Chasing a rumour about a mysterious doctor with a cure, Alice falls down the rabbit hole into Wonderland, where ravenous Mumarath aren't the only danger lurking. So this book gave me serious Alice in Wonderland meets Resident Evil vibes. I'm not gonna lie. I really love that aspect of it because while I'm not a huge fan of zombie things, the Mumarath really are this zombie-like race that has been created by this plague that just mysteriously popped up. Throughout the story, we begin to unravel the origins of that virus and how it impacts on the world. I obviously read this because I'm trash for Alice in Wonderland retellings, and this was just really different to any of the other ones that I have read so far. I think there was a really interesting sort of backstory that was given throughout the book. Some of the side characters were really great, like Chess, who is obviously the Cheshire Cat and pops in and out of Alice's storyline. He was quite funny because every time he pops up he gives her a different name and it really irritates her, and it was just nice to have sort of a playful element in the story as well, because some of it was quite dark and quite scary, and not in a horror sense, but just scary as in the world that Alice is living in and the world she has to navigate alone now that her sister is sick and she's trying to find a way to save her. Overall, I gave Alice the Wanderer Chronicles 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a really great start to a series. I am looking to see if the world becomes a little bit more fleshed out in future books. I did read a comment on a review that I actually agree with, and this felt a bit like a video game in terms of the writing style because you're constantly moving through lots and lots of action sequences, which was awesome because I love that. Yeah, it's definitely one to keep in mind. I think it's already been released, but if it's not, I'll pop the release date down below for you. The second book that I read this week was The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I picked this up because it is the YA Rooms book of the month, and I'm hoping to go to their meetup at the end of the month, so I thought I better read the book. This book has been everywhere on BookTube, so most people probably know a little bit about it. It is a young adult contemporary book. Molly Peskin-Suso knows all about unrequited love. No matter how many times her twin sister Cassie tells her to woman up, Molly is always careful. Better to be careful than to be hurt. But when Cassie gets a new girlfriend who comes with a cute hipster boy sidekick, everything changes. Will is funny, flirtatious, and basically the perfect first boyfriend. There's only one problem. Molly's co-worker Reed, the awkward Tolkien superfan she could never fall for. Right? This book was super cute and I really enjoyed it, and it reminded me so much of my life growing up. There is diversity galore in this book. Molly is overweight and for the most part she owns it. It does make her a little bit cautious when delving into relationships. She has a twin sister, she has 2 mums, she's Jewish, her friends come from all walks of life, and honestly this was just a delightful read. This was a book that was full of feelings for me. More than anything else, the relationships that were developed were really lovely. The side characters were great. I loved reading about Reed. He was awesome. It was just a great way to see teens navigating a really strange time in their lives, and in particular Molly's relationship with her sister Cassie was really great to read because they don't always see eye to eye, and in the past they sort of, you know, make up after they have an argument, but this time they're really struggling to come to grips with what it means to grow up and still be sisters, and that was really well done. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars and I really enjoyed it. The last full book that I read this week was The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken, which I've heard lots and lots about on BookTube, and people have compared it to being, you know, like X-Men in book form and all sorts of things. It's a young adult dystopian book. When Ruby woke up on her 10th birthday, something about her had changed. Something frightening enough to make her parents lock her in the garage and call the police. Something that got her sent to Thurmond, a brutal government rehabilitation camp. She might have survived the mysterious disease that had killed most of America's children, but she and the others have emerged with something far worse, frightening abilities they could not control. Now 16, Ruby is one of the dangerous ones. When the truth comes out, Ruby barely escapes Thurmond with her life. She's on the run, desperate to find the only safe haven left for kids like her, East River. She joins a group of kids who have escaped their own camp. Liam, their brave leader, is falling hard for Ruby. But no matter how much she aches for him, Ruby can't risk getting close. Not after what happened to her parents. When they arrive at East River, nothing is as it seems, least of all its mysterious leader. But there are other forces at work, people who will stop at nothing to use Ruby in their fight against the government. Ruby will be faced with a terrible choice, one that may mean giving up her only chance at having a life worth living. Overall, this book was okay for me. It wasn't anything outstanding, I don't think, because and it left me a little bit underwhelmed. Not necessarily in a bad way, just I think I was expecting it to be a little bit more fast-paced and a little bit more actiony, and it wasn't really. Ruby as a main character was a bit meh for me. I didn't really form too much of a connection with her. Liam, on the other hand, was wonderful. If I could give the book 5 stars for a side character, I would, but I can't. And he was just fabulous. He was kind and understanding and basically sort of the perfect guy that you want in a book. And he really, really wants to help Ruby. And that came through the whole way through. He's very generous and welcoming straight off the bat. Chubbs and Zoo were also really fantastic side characters. I loved Zoo, she was adorable. It was interesting to see how the world had changed in this book. While it's dystopian, it felt a little bit more post-apocalyptic, which I know there's sort of a fine line between the two of those. The entire United States is afraid that when their children turn 10 years old, they're either going to contract this virus and die, or they're going to contract this virus and wake up with superpowers that the adults can't control. That terrifies grown-ups. Rightly so, it should. So they start incarcerating kids in rehabilitation camps, but basically, you know, the population of children has been decimated. So for me, it calls into question things like, how are they sustaining population if they're locking up all of their kids? I don't think that was delved into as much in this book. Perhaps it is in subsequent books. At the moment, I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series because this was a bit ordinary for me, and I just don't think I'm ready to keep diving into more of this dystopian post-apocalyptic world. I've got some other things that I want to read first, but I don't know, I've read the first one and one day I may continue it. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if you've read the rest of the series and whether it's worth continuing it. All I can say is the very ending shattered me. That was probably the part that got the biggest emotional reaction from me. I was just absolutely gutted about what happened. Overall, I gave The Darkest Minds 3 out of 5 stars. Again, let me know if you think I should continue it down in the comments. So these are the books that I read last week, and I'm going to include my book bullet journal on top to symbolise Alice the Wanderer Chronicles. Not too bad considering I've been binge watching a TV series all week. So that's it from me. I hope you guys have had a wonderful reading week. What have you been reading? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to know. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.